It is funny though, because I just only know you as Jen.
I know. It's fine.
Like
it's weird.
Of course, me and Allie talk about you all the time, and so Jen this, Jen that,
Yeah.
Jen everything.
Yeah. The reason I asked you when I came in is I was thinking about that very thing. I was like, I know Allison. She was straight up told me when I was like, I'm going to go by JJ. She was like, I can't call you that. And I was like, well, okay, but just so you know. So, professionally it's one thing, but I don't know. Maybe it won't stick. Maybe 2019 was sort of the year it started, and I don't like 2019 a lot. I know I do and I don't. It's a big year for me. And so I'm ready for it to be over. And so maybe I'll just leave JJ behind and go with Jen. I don't know. I don't know what to do, Brad.
But what are the parts of 2019 that you like?
Oh, wow. Well,
you said it's
starting
good.
From I'll say what the part of 2019 that I like is growth. It has been the biggest year of growth in my life.
Yeah.
It has also been the hardest year of my life. And that goes hand in hand. I mean, if you've ever started to dabble in any kind of spirituality in any format, whether you go into religion or you go into spirituality, you go into the LA 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 world of hot people yoga classes, you know what I mean? It's like you will learn quickly that, the theory behind that which does not kill us makes us stronger. I mean, it's cliche. It's nitty.
No, Kanye. I believe that is quoting Kanye.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Totally. Yeah. Pain and growth go hand in hand. So 2019 has been a very painful year for me. And I also am so grateful and grounded and in a space I could not have been in without it.
Yeah.
So I love it too.
Of course, because it's happening. Mm-hmm. And if you don't love it, then you're going to be in pain. Yeah.
That's right. That's very true. Yeah. And there's times I'm like, fuck this.
I'm sure.
I don't mean to make it sound like I'm all like, everything is good because I'm feeling pain and I'm just
right.
breathing through it. I'm not.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking right now because I'm in a good space at the moment, but I really cannot deny that I look at the world very differently right now than I did a year ago. Yeah. And I was on a very spiritual path a year ago, and I've certainly had my share of ups and downs and hard knocks and bruises and and successes and then it culminated into a really weird, moment, which I guess I should talk about.
I think it does. Yeah.
This time
let's talk about what happened.
I will say before I get to what happened. I mean, it's I was already on a kind of a probably what is a midlife crisis. Honestly, trying to identify like what I wanted my life to look like. Something didn't feel right. I didn't feel like I had found my purpose, and I was questioning everything. And this is a year ago at this time, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I've really been struggling with, all the questions that I think plague a lot of us when we're privileged enough to have them, by the way. I don't mean to make it sound like, I mean, again, I was an executive producer. I have a great life. I live in Beverly Hills. Everything looks like check, 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 check. And here I was, rattling my cage is what I felt like a year ago. And my wife and I weren't in a good space. I was angry that I had, why was I a parent? Why did I get married? Why did I take this path? I was questioning everything. Yeah. And I was really kind of a rotten human being because of it.
Did you feel as though you had just kind of fallen into this, like a stream had carried you, or?
That's a good question. Yes and no.
Yeah.
I do know that I made some very pointed decisions to get married. It's not like my wife and I didn't accidentally get pregnant. That didn't happen. There are some very specific. That was not an
oopsie baby in
there are
sight.
some very specific choices and steps you have to go through.
That would be really funny.
It would be. Babe, I'm pregnant. What? I slipped at a fertility center. And so 2019 started with me sort of at that moment and really, really kind of angry about it. Mm-hmm. And then I buckled down and decided I did not have room in my life to be angry all the time at all of it. And I had to get real. And so the first quarter of the year, I really did get kind of real, and I started working on myself in a deeper way than I had before. I had always meditated and done that kind of stuff, but I was just doing it in a different way with a little bit of a different intention, which was to find peace instead of looking for happiness or success or whatever peak experience I could find.
Things you're taught to want.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted peace.
Yeah.
And I was starting to feel like I could find it. I was starting to get there. I was like, I think I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. And then on April 29th, I went in to wake my kids up to go to school. I have 2 kids. I have a son and a daughter. And at that time, it was 3rd grade and 1st grade. And they have a bunk bed in their room. And my 3rd grader sat up in his bunk bed, and his face was really swollen. And he looked like he'd had an allergic reaction, like bee stung lips kind of a thing. And I was like, what are you allergic to? And so we went through the round of what he could be allergic to. We couldn't figure it out. He came to breakfast. His face started to go down a little bit. And as we went through breakfast, he's like, I feel fine. I want to go to school. I want to go to school. And so we sent him to school. But that night he started coughing and then he was having some pain in his chest and he was coughing. And I thought, what are you allergic to? I gave him an antihistamine. I gave him some ibuprofen in the middle of the night because he was crying because his chest. And the next morning, Tuesday morning, I go in to wake him up to go to school, and he sits up in that top bunk. And again, his lips are huge. His whole face is huge. So we go to the doctor. And a few hours later, we were at Children's Hospital, and we found out that he had a mediastinal mass in his chest, and his which was fluid all through his lungs.
Yeah.
And his heart was being compressed, and his lungs were being compressed, and he was in a dangerous situation. And what we had seen, that swelling, had been fluid that was pooling when he was laying down. It was pooling in his face. And so when he stood up, it would start to go back down to his lungs.
Right.
And it turned out that was leukemia. He had leukemia.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that night. You know, my wife and I were at Children's Hospital, and we're sitting there thinking, what could this be? What is this? And what's happening? And we're watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with Mason, my boy. And he's just like, why are we here? I don't want to be here. All of a sudden, this team of doctors came in, and they were like, can you come with us, please? We'll leave someone here. They left a child life specialist with Mason, and Stacy and I looked at each other, and I just grabbed her hand, and we started walking down this hall. It was the longest hallway in the world, and we went to a room, and all these people filed in, and they all had this look on their face. And you know it's happening. It's like you're watching it. You're like, this is happening. This is how it
what it looks like. Yeah, there's no other thing it could be. Yeah.
And this very nervous doctor proceeded to pull up an X-ray and show us a picture of Mason's chest, and that there was so little air getting in, and which seemed so odd because he'd been at school the day before. We were at a school carnival the 2 days before that.
And was in the hospital bed saying, why am I here?
Why am I here?
He was not feeling...
He knew he was kind of wheezy and stuff, but he was like...
Whatever.
He was like, come on. Yeah. I mean, he's,
I got school tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he was mad. When we ended up going, we were transferred to the PICU and then later to the oncology floor a couple of weeks after that. And anyway, it became the journey of cancer. So blah, 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 blah. But later that week, he got really mad. He was like, I should have never told you I felt bad. And I was like, what?
Yeah, this is your fault.
And so you have to be strong, and you have to let him be upset, but also explain to him what's going on with his body. So that was the beginning. That was the beginning of childhood cancer. And all of a sudden, my problems and my whole, what am I doing with my life, and what is my purpose, and why aren't things the way I like them all the time, seemed so, I don't even want to say silly, because I love that part of me. That part of me seems childlike now. And so I have a love for that part of me. Like, honey, you don't even know. Sit down.
I'm sure you are a different person now, and the growth, but also the strongest person.
I don't know. Maybe I'm strong. Maybe I am.
Stronger than you've ever been, I would guess.
I guess. I don't, it's funny.
I would bet, maybe.
I think, of course, we've had to be strong. There are times I really don't feel strong. Strength comes from, when you lift weights or you do something, you break all those little, your muscles breaking, and it hurts.
Yeah.
And it's, and it doesn't, and at times you're shaky, even though you're getting stronger. And it's so like, that's not even a metaphor. That's fucking it. You know what I mean? That's how it is. And so, I'm strong because I've been through it now. And I do think the purpose of being strong, if we want to look at it that way, is that I can turn around now and help somebody else going through something. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't feel like I go through my life saying like, oh, hand it to me, whatever. I don't want anything bad to happen. I really don't. I would really like nothing ever bad to happen again. So in that sense, I don't feel so strong. I don't feel like, oh, I got this now. In fact, I feel that less than ever.
Yeah.
Which is the irony.
That you would, what do you mean by that?
I mean that a year ago, had you asked me if I was a strong person, I would have said I am one of the strongest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Like in this, like, because it was a quality of mine that I owned. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, you know, like, yes, I'm the smartest in the room. Yes, I'm the strongest person. I got this. I will take this. I know how to be in control. That was something I would have very easily said to you a year ago. And now that I think I actually have had to demonstrate great strength through, I mean, many things that have happened over these last 6 months with Mason, I don't know that I would be so quick to say I'm the strongest person in the room. 100%.
It's interesting what you said, though, that before you felt like, well, I know how to be in control.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about what's happened in this past year, you now know how to be out of control and how to just be out of control because you can't control this.
No.
And so there is an incredible amount of peace that you've probably had to find with the chaos.
Yeah, 100%.
And so it is like, it's beautiful. Like the knowledge and power you feel in situations that you are completely out of control.
Yeah,
like
it is.
That's inner strength.
It is, and it really is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely beautiful because it is to be powerless, to really own that you are powerless. Is the scariest thing, and I don't know a lot of people who've done it.
I think a lot of people are like I think
Absolutely.
the idea of surrender that is such a big thing in spirituality is such a crazy idea to people. They're like, well, then why am I doing anything if I'm just surrendering?
It's the last thing in our instinct when we're in ego. The last thing is to surrender. Why would I do that? It's my life on the line.
Yeah.
And yet then there's that moment of grace, really, when we talk about what grace is.
Yeah.
I'd love to know your definition of grace. When we talk about what grace is, I believe it is that moment we let go. And then what comes right after that?
I mean, I think grace is a moment for sure. It's a light bulb.
Yeah.
It's someone who's giving an opportunity, it's a gift. Grace is a gift of some sort. So either it's opening a door or releasing something, but it's those beautiful moments that feel a dynamic shift of energy.
Definitely a dynamic shift.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've been
what do you think?
I've been thinking a lot about the word lately because it's a word it never quite gelled with me. I never understood it. I was like, grace, what? You know, and I grew up in the South. I went to, my family was Presbyterian, the suburbs of Atlanta, not like on a,
Where? My brother
farm.
just lived,
Really?
just moved to
Marietta, East Conroe.
Yeah, Kennesaw.
Kennesaw.
He just moved it there.
Kennesaw Mountain. It's where I lost my virginity, man. God.
I'll be sure to find
I
the
said that
spot
out
with
loud.
Allie when we visit in Thanksgiving. We will find the spot.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll show you. I'll tell you. There's a plaque. Not
Good.
for me, but
Yeah,
for the Civil War. I had it right. Yeah, it was really awful. But
it was a battle
Kennesaw
fought
Mountain,
that
it was a
day
battle
as well.
fought
Yeah.
that day. And North versus the South, and yes, the South lost. So. But that's where I was raised, and I heard terms like grace, although that wasn't talked a lot about in Presbyterian church. That was more my Baptist side of the family would say stuff like that. But it was still a very Christian-y, Protestant-style Christian church term to me.
Yeah.
And then it started coming up again, sort of like as I get older, and I put aside all of that really hard. I mean, I was very much an atheist for a long time, and then later in my life, I've started to go back towards this spirituality and kind of sense what that meant to me. And the word grace started coming up again. And I was like, what is grace? Other than a ballet dancer, ballerina has grace. They move with grace. It's a gentleness,
a lightness,
a fluidness,
yeah,
a lightness. Yeah. And I didn't,
In the religious sense, though.
In the religious sense,
yes,
it's a word that, and this year with all that's happened, I feel like the sense of it, there's almost a physical sense of a weighted blanket being put on you, you know, like you have this, it's a comfort, it's a weight, and it's a being held that I've never had before. And I feel more held by just what is than I've ever had before. And it's not, you know, religious or Christian or anything like that to me in any way. It's in fact, I consider myself more of a Taoist than anything, but although I'm spiritually fluid.
Yeah, because they're all the same.
Because they're all the same.
They're all literally the same.
But the, you know, I you know, what I've taken from it, what this grace means to me is a way to tap into, now I'm able to tap into a peace that holds me, that I don't have to grasp for. It's just there. So that's it for me.
The coolest thing is finally feeling and realizing that it's just always there.
Yes.
That
Yes.
you can always just tap in. That you
Always.
can always speak to yourself, your God, your spirit, your spirit guides. You can always do it. And that's such a wild idea. Because, growing up Catholic, it's like you pray and you're in church and he watches over you or whatever. But like, you know, whatever your version of it, source, God, whatever, it's just always around.
Yeah.
Because you are it. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are it.
You are it.
You are it.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my crazy God story?
Oh, please.
Do you want to hear it?
I would love it.
It was in the fall of 2012, and my daughter had just been born that summer. And that was when I literally that was the year, like a few months later, I had just checked my final box of everything I needed. I had my first executive producer title, so I was making it at work, and it was of a successful show. I had a beautiful wife. I had an adorable 3-year-old son, and I had a brand new baby girl. Check, 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 check. And that was right about the moment I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what now? What do I do now?
What a wild moment.
Wild moment.
I have done all the things
I've done
that
all
I've
the
intended
things.
to do.
And I literally, it put me in a panic/depression.
Yeah.
And I had also sort of declared myself as an atheist for about 10 years before that. In my 20s, I had, again, I grew up Presbyterian. I had a mentor friend who was like way into spirituality, like New Age stuff that I was into a little bit for a while, but I kind of was like, no, I don't know. You seem crazy. And so in my 30s, I was atheist. I was successful. I was just doing all the stuff. And then when that fall in 2012, I was like, what do I do now? And there was this little sense of me that was like, is there something I can ask, some spiritual something I can reach out to help me with how I feel right now? And I was angry about it. I found a lot of anger, and I think it was anger at the Christian church. Because as a gay woman from the South, that's not exactly a real welcoming place for me.
No.
There are a lot of Christians that, by the way, are awesome and have been.
Yes.
But I didn't associate it with that.
In
at that
general,
point.
they're not known
They're
to
not known
be
for
nice to the
for
gay
saying
community.
like, hey, come on, it's all good. But so I had anger, and I was driving in my car, and I was, the car prayer, the angry car prayer.
No.
You don't know the angry car prayer? When you're by yourself in your car, you're like, God, what the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're by yourself, and it doesn't matter.
No, that's where mine happened too.
That's where they all happen. And in LA, we don't know if it's just an actor practicing lines or someone's having the anger. We just all look over and we're like, gotcha, I've done that too. In the 405, we're all like,
we're just
crying, or it's just traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're all crazy.
Or listening
here.
to a great podcast.
Or
there's a
exactly.
million things that happen.
So I was like, I kind of weirdly had this shouting thing in my car where it ended up being, I don't think I even intended this. I was literally like, God, if you're fucking real, if you're so fucking real, why don't you show yourself? Why is there so much pain in the world? Why is there sickness? Why did Hitler come around? What the fuck? And I had this weird, like, let it out thing with God. I didn't see it coming. Okay, so cut to several days later. I'm at work. I worked in North Hollywood. My pattern every day was to get in my car, drive down to the Gelsons on Laurel Canyon, and what is that? Anyway,
Riverside.
that's right, Riverside and Laurel Canyon. I would go to that Gelsons, and I would go to the salad bar, and I would get my salad and I would go back in my car and I would take it to my desk and I would eat my salad at my lunch at my desk. I drive over there and I'm not thinking anything about my angry thing the day before, a few days before. And as I pull into the parking lot, I have the thought come into my head, every single person you meet in Gelson's is God. Tell yourself every single person is God. And I was like, what? And so I was like, all right, fine. Every person is God, whatever. And so I walk in and there's this guy like pushing a broom and I go, that's God. And then I go to the salad bar and there are these two women and they're sort of trying to get over to the faux crab and I'm like, doing my thing and they're pushing. And I was like, that's God and that's God. And then I was like, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. We're all God. Yay. But I mean, I'm not dumb. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is very cute.
Yeah.
But I was, again, there was a part of me that was like, no, just keep doing it. And so I kept doing it. I was walking through and I was, I saw this mom with her little toddler, God, the little baby God. And I got up to the cash register and the lady and her crazy long nails and the clickety and that's God. And then as I'm putting my stuff down, I'm like, if that's all God, I'm God. Yeah. And I had this, the top of my head started just buzzing. It was on fire. And I had this sense that I am everywhere. We're all the same person. We're all the same entity. And I'm just having an experience right now. I'm just having all of these little experiences. I'm experiencing being that old man over there. I'm experiencing working behind the deli counter. I'm experiencing these amazing long nails. I'm experiencing the depression I'm going through right now. I am all of us. I am God. And again, the top of my head was on fire. Everything in me was vibrating. And I paid. And I walked out and I was stunned. And it was starting, as I was walking out, it was starting to get back to normal. And by the time I got to my car, all the wackiness that I was feeling physically was gone. But of course, I was left with this crazy sense of what just happened. Mm. It was intense. It was the most intense spiritual experience I've ever had. And it happened in a damn Gelson's. I don't know why. But you would think my life would have all of a sudden opened up then. That should have been the moment of grace. That should have been like now I get it. Now we're all good.
But why would it be?
But why would it be?
That's not how it works.
It got worse.
Yeah.
I went on. I had many things happen over the next 7 years, which in my narrative culminated with my son getting cancer. I got sober. I went into Alcoholics Anonymous. I got sober. I stopped drinking because I started drinking a lot around that time. I went through a reckoning with my soul over the last 7 years that has led me to this moment of being able to once more look around and know that we're all just the same person. The connection factor is kind of there all the time now for me.
When did you look back at that moment and understand its gravity?
I understood the gravity at the time, but I did, after a while, go like, okay, yeah, whatever.
That was the thing that happened.
That was the thing that happened. Yeah. And I was having a moment, and it was a product of my, seeking and searching.
Sure. Didn't stick.
And it didn't totally stick.
Didn't stick, yeah.
And it started occurring to me a little bit in the last couple of years. I mean, in AA, in any 12-step program, you do work with a God of your own understanding. I think it freaks a lot of people. It freaked me out when I walked in the doors, and it was like, a lot of what you see is God, God, God,
right.
God. And I'm like, right. I don't want any, and that blue book looks like a Bible. And I'm like, I don't want this. This is what I grew up with. But, when you realize it's a higher power, I mean, the ocean is a higher power than you. The group of people in AA is a higher power. I mean, it's just something bigger than you that you can just rely on, right?
Yeah.
I was able to go with that. And then I started remembering about that experience I had that day in Gelson's. And I told a friend of mine about it. I've told Allison about it too, but I've told a couple of friends of mine about it in the last year. And because the last year is sort of when this is all like come to a head. And I had some real choices to make about who I wanted to be in my life. And then with Mason getting sick, it's funny. I actually, one of those good friends, we were in the car one day. We were in the valley. We'd gone to an event, and we went to Gelson's. She goes, where's that Gelson's again? And I looked at her, I go, what? She goes, where is it? And I was like, oh, it's on the one on Laurel Canyon. And all of a sudden she goes, and pulls over, and like we got out of the car. She goes, let's go do it. And so she and I got out of the car. She goes, so everyone's God, right? And I said, yeah, everyone's God. So we went in and we got a cart And we pushed the cart around and we sat there together going, that's God, and that's God, and that's
Yeah.
God. And I didn't have the same physical craziness or like where I felt like I was losing my mind like I did that one day. But there was something very special about sharing it with a friend. And it was right after Mason got diagnosed. And it reminded me, that Mason too is on a journey. He's God on a journey experiencing this. And I can't control that. I am powerless over that because it's part of what we're doing here. And it helps me to understand, maybe not understand, it's not the right word, but maybe accept a little bit more some of the horrors that we see in our world today.
So a lot of the whys.
A lot of the whys.
Which I think is the big question. Anytime
Yeah.
you start talking about any of this.
Yeah.
But then why the worst things?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure this has probably come up as a spiritual person with your son going through a health crisis. Have people, rubbed up against this when you talk about it that way? When you're like, Mason's here on earth learning a lesson through this? Because I feel like a lot of people would go, no, there's no lesson. It's just, it
cancer,
happened
yeah.
and it sucks and it's the worst.
I'm sure that has been the case. No one has, I wouldn't
To
share
challenge
that
you
with,
at this point seems
yeah, I was going to say, if anyone challenged me, I'd be like,
that people would
really?
probably
Is that
do.
really your choice right now?
But have you maybe felt that from people, I guess? Like a tugging
I
or
haven't
a
as much.
reticence.
There was one conversation I had. I've had a couple of conversations where people were angry at how this could ever happen. Not angry at me or angry, but like, oh my God, how could this happen? How can there be a God if something like this happens? I did have someone say that.
Right.
And I didn't share my own experience because it's a hard thing to share. And you end up relying on like kind of old-fashioned idioms and phrases like that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger, which can piss you off in those times. It's like, had someone said that to me the night someone told me my son had cancer, had someone in the hallway been like, hey, kiddo, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger, I would have punched them, I don't think I would have punched them, but I can't imagine how it would have reacted. Maybe I would have punched them.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Fuck you. So it's not to say that all this stuff, because I have to be careful that I don't mean to sound pious or like,
yes.
or like I've figured it all out.
Right.
Now I have the
That
answer.
you're smarter
because,
than other people.
No,
That's
because
not, yeah.
and some of my worst self qualities have come out because of this pain of cancer. I have a story about that. But the meme thing that you see is
Get to the meme.
I know. Let's look at the meme.
I don't care about any of these fucking stories.
Meme.
Get
Let's
to
talk
the
about the meme.
That's what they want.
That's what anyone wants anymore.
The meme.
The meme of the moment that I keep seeing, and I'm probably seeing it because I'm living it, is you never. Well, I'm going to mess it up. It's something like you never know what someone else is going through. You know what I mean? Yeah. Never judge someone else because you don't know what they're going through, right? It seems so obvious and it's so sweet and it's a good like on a thing. It is so true.
How do you use social media?
Like a lot of people, I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yes. How do you feel like it affects your life? Is it something that, do you feel addicted to it?
I have, absolutely. I have to be careful with it. Yeah. I'm in a 12-step program, so I know my addiction. I know, and what I mean by that is, addiction for me does not play out in, alcohol is not the problem. The addictive personality is the problem, and alcohol is what I used to numb it.
Right.
So that means I can use anything to numb it.
Yeah.
And I've tried all sorts of things to numb it, know, social media absolutely being one of them. I can tell I'm going into a bad space if I keep checking in during the day.
Yeah.
Something you've said on this podcast that I love is you're learning to use it as a tool and not a friend. I love that, Brad. It's so good. It helps me because
you don't owe anything to it.
You don't owe anything to it like you would a friend. Yeah. And there absolutely is. I have now learned to, I can gauge my sanity by how many times I've checked in social media that day.
Yeah.
If you talk about Qi, we talk about energy and us being Qi, right? One of the things I do is Qigong recently. That's something I've discovered that I love. It's a moving meditation that is just beautiful. When we start to tune into the artificial world around us, most easily seen through screens, I feel like that Qi becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we start feeding into it, and we feel this cavity that we're just trying to fill back in. And like, I've never met a person who didn't go out into nature and get away from all of that and go, oh, I feel I feel whole. And it's because there you are, and you're not dealing with artificial reality.
Yeah.
There's a great book, Michio Kaku. Do you know who he is?
Mm-mm.
He's a physicist, theoretical physicist. He's one of these.
Those are the good ones.
That's right. Those are the good, exactly the ones who talk about the magical stuff. He has a book about consciousness that he kind of breaks down pretty clearly how our brains are different from other animals. We're the brain that looks into the future for the next thing. One of the reasons we've evolved is we future trip, because we're looking for how we will eat and how we will do things. And we go further than, other animals hunt, but we can steps ahead than anybody else. It's how our brains have evolved. And it helps us in a lot of ways, but it also has become our biggest hindrance. Now that we've created a world where we don't really need to do much of anything like that, what happens is we fall face forward into this hole, because like we're standing there like, where do I go next? And so something like social media, or even Joseph Goldstein talks about a catalog, how you can look through a catalog just looking for something that you want to buy, even though you don't even know what it is yet. You just want to buy something. And I find that on social media. I'm scrolling.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
What do I want to see? I want to see something. You create
a hole, and then you're creating the hole.
Yes.
And then you're looking for something to fill it.
And you just go down into it, and it's this quicksand of thought, and you stay here in your head, and it makes your thoughts go round and round and round, and you can have a whole world happening around you physically and not even be aware of it.
Well, yeah,
that's so scary to me.
I take a deep breath sometimes and throw my phone to get it away from me.
Get it away.
I love that, though.
I heard my southern accent come out just now. Get it away. Did y'all hear that? Ooh, there it is again. I must be tired.
Yeah. So I've seen these photos. You have gone through some transformations. You used to have long hair, and you've had these kind of different identities in some ways. Yes. Do you ever think about how, if you were more involved with social media during those times in your life, if that would have captured you in those moments a little more?
Yes.
Trapped you?
Oh, yes. Thank God. Thank God that social media came along a little later.
Right? Because you worry about people who may want to be moving on but are trapped.
Yeah. And it's also true of a lot of artists and people, specifically in this city too. So I think it is true of artists, or storytellers. Maybe everybody, I don't know. One of my big lessons in life over and over and over and over again has been authenticity. How does one be authentic? And it's that's a pop buzzword right now that is be authentic, be authentic. It's kind of lame that I'm even saying it, but it actually has been a major journey of mine. And part of that was coming out of the closet. Because here I told you I grew up in that family in the second pew, right?
Yeah.
We were the family. We were like the family. And like you had to hold up the image of the family. So it was set up in me early to put on a veneer. Southern also, for God's sakes. Yeah. That's the whole culture's built on that. And so I didn't come out of the closet till I was 33 years old. I married my college boyfriend. I look like a gold star dyke. I am not. Thank God we didn't have kids.
Maybe you are, though, because of that.
In my heart, I am. No.
You proved it so hard
I
that you are not straight.
Time, and I didn't. Yeah, I really wanted to be straight. I was mortified that I was attracted to women. I dated like alpha male types. I went through I dated like a West Point guy. I dated a Naval Academy guy. For some reason, you were
aiming pretty high.
I was. I was like, let me find the most masculine men I can find. And that's who I'm supposed to. My dad had been in the Air Force, so I think I was just trying to put myself in that role. So again, I learned to put on a costume. Like, this is what you do. I was a cute girl. Guys liked me, and I was like, this is how you do it. This is what you're supposed to do. And then starting in college, I was like, okay, I have specific crushes now, but it terrified me, and I didn't think I was supposed to do that. And so I remember when I got married, I actually very specifically thought, okay, so I'm bisexual, and I won't ever tell anybody because it's not like I'm going to go live that life. That's weird. And that's literally what I thought. And I thought it would be fine. And I married my husband, and I, meanwhile, was like falling in love with every woman that I knew. And I was so confused. And
did he have any sense of it? Did he?
I don't know. He didn't. Yeah. We kind of just became roommates, as you do, with somebody that you don't really click with.
Yeah.
So when we divorced, it was like, yeah, this isn't working. He was like, this isn't working. And it was that simple. We didn't have kids. It was
Beautiful.
very like, yeah, it was like done.
Great.
And I still was trying very hard to be straight. And then it became that I had secret girlfriends. And I wouldn't tell. I was like, I had a double life. I dated guys on the outside, and I had girlfriends that no one, not even my closest friends, knew about. No one knew. I was so deeply in the closet. I moved out to LA, and I would hook up with girls, but I had a boyfriend that I adore. I still adore him. He was one of the nicest guys ever. And we lived together for a year, and I was just with him during that time, but I was meanwhile falling in love with my best friend, and it was after he and I broke up that I just couldn't hold it anymore. I just couldn't. And I ended up coming out with my best friend that I was falling in love with. She was straight, and she helped get me to therapy, and little by little, and then I started dating, and then I out loud, and then I told my parents. They did not react well. But interestingly, I still was holding on to let me be feminine. I don't have to be gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, so I had long hair, I wore makeup, and everyone should have guessed, because I moved to town with my Subaru and my Labrador and a kayak on top, but listening to the Indigo Girls, it was such a dyke. I was gay. I was really gay. So it has been a shedding of layers at the time. So to your question about social media, I was so busy creating costumes and roles to play. And I think the danger of social media now for people is it gives them a real easy platform to really, really create that. And I've been guilty of creating that even in my own life, in my own marriage. I ended up marrying Stacy and having 2 beautiful kids, and we became the poster child for gay marriage. And like, we became, everyone calls us the perfect family. And I have really, really, I have a part of what my book is about actually is that we're not the perfect family. We have we're so far, we've done so many things far from perfect. I have screwed up in some major ways, and it is not fair to Stacy or my kids or myself if I put this image out there that somehow we got it put together. And it's so easy to do on social media, because who's going to go post about your fight? In fact, when people do post that, we all hate it.
Well, hate it or feel bad or don't want to see it.
It's awkward.
I'm sure a lot of people are like, I don't come here for this.
No, exactly. I don't want to see people's fights.
Yeah.
So why would I post about that on, you know what I mean?
Right. So yeah, you're just curating, and then there is a narrative there that
There's a
you
narrative.
can't help but buy into a little bit.
Can't
and
help.
you go, well, this is me.
Yeah. No,
why,
totally.
Why can't this be me?
Yes. It's the top layered skimmed off
yeah.
of me. And it's not that it's not true.
Right.
You'll notice for a while, if you were to go back through my feed, even though I didn't purposely curate it, there's a lot of Stacy not in there. Because things weren't good with us, And now that Stacy and I have been through what we've been through together, and I really understand on a much deeper level who I am in my family and who I am with my wife and who I am as a woman, I don't care to put on a costume anymore. I don't. So yeah, my hair, I ended up cutting my hair short. I don't wear makeup. I'm very me. I'm more comfortable in my skin now than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I don't seek out followers. If I get followers, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not like, yay, when I get likes. I love getting likes. Who doesn't? But I have very much had to learn to put down the roles.
Speaking of that, I've always wondered, how do you experience the male gaze as a lesbian woman? How do you see it? What's your take on it?
When you say the male gaze, are you saying G-A-Z-E or
G-A-Z-E?
Okay, gaze.
Yes.
Like, male gaze are a thing.
Yeah.
That's great. The male gaze. Oh,
yeah.
What is my take on it? Oh, that's
how has it changed?
Good question. That's a great question. So I have absolutely been the receiver of a lot of male attention and unwanted male attention in a way. Back when I presented more feminine. I have my Me Too stories. I have my whatever. I mean, I've certainly been on the receiving end of it. I've also, now that I present in the way that I present, and I'm much more, masculine in the way it comes out. The yin energy is very present in me in a lot of ways. a lot of guys want to bond with me, and they sort of carefully, cautiously, like, kind of like, I'll make a comment
about a woman,
yeah, to see how I'll react. You know what I mean?
Bro?
They kind of go there. It's like, yeah, like they want to bro out with me. You know, they want to like go there with me, and I can do it to a degree if it's in an appropriate situation, and it's not doesn't get gross,
right?
Because I've been on that receiving end. I have a very unique perspective of it. You know, and
it is very gross sometimes.
It is very gross sometimes, and it can be very fun because it's gross sometimes. So I get that.
Yeah.
But if it's at the expense, if it's ever anything at work, it's immediate no. I have a real hard time with that. Even prior to Me Too, so because I'd been in that situation, you know, and so that icks me out.
You're being a good boss.
Yeah, well, being a good boss, exactly. Thankfully, I have to keep a, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because there's a part of me that has enjoyed the camaraderie with men. And I like being accepted as one of the guys. Yeah. I like it. I think it's fun. And yet I have to have a responsibility as a woman that we don't objectify women in a way that is hurtful and not respectful. Because that's what it comes down to, is it's not being respectful, you know? And so, you know, that line I have to walk. I have to walk that, and I have walked it quite a few times. I have shut guys down for going too far over it. And I usually...
How does that go? How do they react to that?
It gets very uncomfortable very fast, but they get it. They get it quickly.
That's good.
It is
it's
good.
It's good when they get it.
It is when they get it.
Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't. No. Yeah. You know, I think if anyone hasn't, it's been because they were drunk. And then I just remove myself from the situation. Or, you know, they're just on, and I just remove myself from the situation. And, you know, but for the most part, guys get it, because they usually are feeling me out anyway, because they don't quite know what to do. And I feel, you know, I think men in general are in a confusing, they don't know what to do. You know, you guys don't know what to do right now. It's a hard time. You know, things are changing as far as, you know, how things have been in the past. And yet, you know, that all the adage, boys will be boys, which is, you know, the thing that gets people in so much trouble, is there and present.
It's been true for so long.
It's been true for so long that it's like
in a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think it's very good that it's happening. I do think there's a pendulum swing that needs to sort of like get centered with everybody, in every individual, by the way, you know. But I tend to bond with men in moments about. I know how to walk into a room and take over a room like a man does. I know how to do that. And I always knew how to do that, even when I was feminine, which was one of the things that people would say I had a masculine quality. Why does strength and power have to be a masculine quality?
Right. And I'm sure they say it like it's such a big compliment.
Yeah, they do. It's very masculine. It's very masculine.
It's just like, wait a second.
No, that's right.
They're both good.
They're both good.
Not like...
Well, and here's the thing is I feel like...
powerful.
They are both powerful.
Yeah.
I feel like the way I like to think of it is yin and yang energy. I think every human being has the yin, and every human being has the yin and the yang. You know, some people present more in one way than another, and they're just the way they sort of work with the world. And usually that means they have some work to do on the other side. That's certainly, you know, been my case. And I do believe that I feel more encompassed with sort of the yin and the yang energy in general. I think in relationships, yin and yang plays out in sexuality. I think it plays out in romance. I think that it can shift. It doesn't always have to be the male or the female playing that role. Yeah. I think the most beautiful things are when that whole yin and yang encompasses and makes a whole. And, you know, the opposite polarities of who we are in this world, and you could take that into any example you ever wanted, it's the combination of them. It's that tension between the combination of them that makes us whole. And in my way I handle it, to answer that question, it depends on the situation. I can be snarky. I can be mean and like kind of cut a guy down a little bit. I don't do that often, because that's not, I have done it, but I don't think that's a way to teach. Well, there's a quick shame, and then maybe they get angry about how. Yeah, that's not going to do anything but
teaching them, showing them.
That's right. That's not going to do anything but they're going to label me as, you know, an angry dyke.
Well, I guess I can't talk like that around her anymore.
Exactly.
That's not like maybe instead of maybe I should stop talking like this.
Yeah, exactly. I never thought of it that way. Yeah. Which I have had some guys say I've never thought of it that way. You know?
What a wonderful thing to say.
It is a wonderful thing to say, and it's. I mean,
this learning curve is really
and
happening.
everybody, women objectify men too. I mean, everybody objectifies people. I think the objectification.
Just absorbed very differently.
It is absorbed very. It is.
Guys just like are just like whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no danger with it. Maybe
there's no danger. No, it's very true. Yeah, there's not. It's the danger aspect is 100% what it is. Women, you can say all day like, oh, but women objectify too, but men don't fear driving in their car going along. And I mean, when I was driving tonight, there was a point I was at a light and I had a moment of fear. A guy was walking over, and it's a common. You're just used to it.
Yeah.
I mean, men can feel fear, you know what I mean. But the way he looked at me and that kind of thing, and part of that's also the way I look presenting as gay. There's a whole other thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a fear of that.
Mm-hmm.
So violence happens to people with a certain look or presentation or gender or whatever. You can do that, and so. I think that the more we can talk about that and the more we can talk about our vulnerability in those moments, I do think it helps people because I don't think most men that I know, even if they're clueless about what's coming out of their mouth, I don't think most men I've met want to make other people feel that way.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's where we have to start.
JJ Duncan, what is the most important thing to you in your life?
The most important thing to me.
You know
in my
about
life,
this already because you've listened to the
do.
podcast.
It's my family. It's my family is the most important thing to me. But I do know about this question. My family is the most important thing to me in my life. But I will say in an addendum to that, and because it's also what I want to give to my family. Yeah. It's peace. It's peace. Yeah. Because when I'm at peace, and when my family is at peace, and I can help in any way facilitate that for them. It's when I can touch that universal side, that grace that we talked about. Mm-hmm. It's a very good place to be. And I finally started to touch it. And I would not want to give that up. So that would be the most important thing to me.
The more you touch it, the more you get in contact with your peace. Your family will feel it, and then maybe they will too.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you are leading by example.
Well, I hope and my kids also. I've given couples to my kids, both my kids. I didn't even talk about my daughter, but we've all sort of held hands through this and learned through that. I do think grace has sort of landed on all four of us, and sometimes they remind me of peace, and so I have to breathe and stop and get out of this and get out of my head, put the phone down. And connect to that peace. And my family is the quickest way for me to do that.
I think we really covered a gamut.
We did. This was
really
fun.
Good. Yeah.
Do you feel good?
I feel so good. I feel so grateful that Allie introduced us.
I know.
I think it's a really special thing.
I do too. I'm so proud of you with this podcast. I really think what you're doing is important. I think that you are tapping into... there's no mystery to this. We've been in this me era for such a long time now. And I feel like we need to move towards community again.
It's about us. It's us.
It's us. It's not about me. It's about us. And yeah.
Because me is us.
That's it. God is at that grocery store, right?
Gelson's.
All of us. Gelson's.
Go to Gelson's on Laurel Canyon, Riverside, folks.
That's where God is.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.